Good morning and welcome to City Hall. We'll get started with the invocation. Tom Jones is with City Rescue Mission. He'll be coming up, and I remind you it's almost holiday time, and opportunities to give to those less fortunate can always be directed at the City Rescue Mission and Tom and his staff's great work. When Tom's concluded, I'll ask Councilman Pete White to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. But would everyone please stand, please? Thank you.
Please bow your heads. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've provided for us to live in this amazing country and this beautiful city. Lord, your word teaches us that you place everyone in authority. And Lord, we just respect that today, and we pray, God, your blessing and favor and wisdom and guidance over this council, that you would allow them to see what is best for this city. And Lord, that we would flow with that and we would see the fruit of it. In your name, amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is that day of the year in which we take time to thank all of the neighborhoods who get out and support the local park in their neighborhood. And Lisa Sinar is here with Oklahoma City Beautiful. Lisa, bring up your staff with you. I know several of them are here. And then in each of the wards, we have selected a winner. And we really rely on a lot of neighborhoods to accentuate the parks. With the amount of inventory we have, getting us out to mow is probably an accomplishable goal. Beyond that is hit and miss. And so the idea that neighborhoods can actually adopt parks in their neighborhoods and bring them up to a higher level is something that we encourage, and this is one way that we encourage it. We have Lisa Sinar here, who's with Oklahoma City Beautiful, and her organization coordinates our efforts. And Lisa, we want to just bring them up one at a time?
Yes.
All right, in Ward 1, Northwest Oklahoma City Rotary is taking care of Stinchcombe Wildlife Refuge. And Dave Brinker and Lee Bollinger are here. You two want to come on up? Let's show our appreciation to these two. We have more people here. Thank you guys very much. And what have you all done out at Wildlife Stinchcombe?
Go ahead. Oh, we've gone out and picked up trash on various weekends and enjoy it. It's a beautiful place to be. Just glad to participate.
It's out far west, a little bit northwest in Oklahoma City, but it's a beautiful part of the city, and a lot of people don't realize it, that it's like the wilderness out there. I mean, you could hunt and fish there, if you can imagine, inside the city limits. So it really is. We appreciate you, and this applause is to show our appreciation. Thank you all. In Ward 2, Marilyn Hansen is here. And she is a neighbor of Mayfair Heights, and they are taking care of the medians along May Avenue. And not a coincidence, but the city has just recently come in with Maps 3 and put sidewalks up and down May Avenue in this area. That's really helped. And Marilyn was telling me before the meeting started that they had some certain types of grasses that Marilyn and her neighbors didn't want in that median, and they worked with public-private partnership, had someone come out and spray. And after several sprayings, they have finally gotten rid of it, and more people are now out joining our sidewalks in the park that she and her neighbors are taking care of. So let's show our appreciation to Marilyn and her neighbors in Mayfair Park. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, and in Ward 3, the OKC JCs are here who have been working on South Lakes Park, and Laura Shoemake. Laura, and you can bring up everyone that's joined you. It's just you. Yeah, you are carrying the load for OKC JCs for South Lakes Park. Tell me about South Lakes Park. I know it's very far southwest.
It is, and it's a beautiful park, and everybody should come and enjoy it. It's a great place to go.
It is a lot of investment, but it's out southwest 119th, west of I-44. And if people have not been out there, if you want to take a Sunday afternoon drive and look at the wonderful investments that the city has made in this area, and I'm glad to see the neighbors are taking good care of it. Thank you. Let's show our appreciation. Thanks very much. All right, and in Ward 4, the Lake Stanley Draper Marina is being taken care of by Boeing. So one of our corporate citizens, and we have several employees from Boeing here: Jerry Pham, Natalie Neal, Eunice George, Gary Hill, Mercedes Jones, Mark Newton, and Travis Souter. And I was asking him, because we have so many Boeing employees that have recently moved to Oklahoma City, how many of them? And I think just one person raised their hand as being from Oklahoma City. So a lot of these people are fairly new to our area, but that's getting involved. When you start taking care of the parks, and especially in this case, Lake Stanley Draper, which is a very big area, but taking care of the marina and making it look better. And I know it's fairly near your plant, but to select that is a wonderful attribute to the great work that Boeing is doing, and we're very appreciative. And I know you guys are hiring. The Help Wanted sign is out on the door at Boeing, so we appreciate everything you guys are doing for the community, and especially this. Let's show our appreciation to Boeing. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay. Ward 6, we have historical preservation for Alice Harn Park. This is Historical Preservation, Inc., HP Inc. So you guys want to come on up? They're not here. Okay. All right. So no one here from Ward 5 or Ward 6, but Ward 7, the Oklahoma City Metro Black Police Association has been taking care of Dolphin Wharton Park. And I know we have some of our police officers and some of our retired officers. Come on up. And if you can imagine, our police don't have enough of a job just handling the day-to-day activities. In their off time, they have been out working in Dolphin Wharton Park, and I believe this is on, Northeast 63rd, just east of the Broadway extension. And I know I've been by there, 'cause it seems like I'm going to the Cowboy Hall of Fame for one event or not, so I've been driving by and seen the work there, and the park does look beautiful. So thank you all for what you're doing out there. Give me some ideas on what you guys have been doing in the park.
Well, we clean the park twice a month. It's a very large acre park. It's beautiful. It's also given us the opportunity to meet with the neighborhood association, who've also taken a great interest in the park, and also to work with our community partner. We have Lynetta Smith here from the Urban League as well. So,
well, we appreciate your work at the Urban League too. All right, let's show our appreciation to the OKC Metro Black Police Association and Dolphin Wharton Park. Thank you all very much. Yeah, thanks very much. Really appreciate it. It's just terrific. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you too. Thank you. Likewise. See you, Nate. All right. Now we have Ward 8. The Surrey Hills Home and Garden Club has been taking care of the medians out there. And according to my notes, we have John and Mary Garrett, Kathy Reed, Andy Weathers, and Nancy Atha. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a long drive from Surrey Hills. They're probably not here yet. We really appreciate it. Tell me about the medians you've been taking care of at Surrey Hills.
Well, the entrance to our neighborhood is a divided highway, and in the median there are 12 gardens, and Jim and I maintain the first 2, and a lot of lovely women maintain a lot of the rest of them, and it's just kind of fun to get out there and dig in the yard and dig in the gardens and make our neighborhood beautiful. We're going to have it all decorated for Christmas, so if you guys want to come out and see our lights and everything, we'd love to have you come visit.
That's great. And Surrey Hills is out Northwest Expressway
Yes.
into Canadian County, yeah, just past the turnpike. And it really can make a difference. I think these are great examples of how neighborhoods can get together and beautify their neighborhood. And it's also a good way for the neighbors just to get together and talk. And, you know, nothing brings a neighborhood together like a problem. And you know, we here at City Hall see that time and time again. But the neighborhoods that can get together in times of peace and prosperity are the ones that typically can keep their neighborhoods safe and active and look after each other. So thank you for doing a part of this. And of course, beautifying your neighborhood is a great thing too. So pass along our compliments to Surrey Hills. All right, appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Very much. All right. Is that it? Okay, and let's have a round of applause for OKC Beautiful. And we have some people here to help us recognize Arts and Humanities Month. So if everybody would come forward, we have a proclamation. I'll ask the clerk to read it as we get settled.
Whereas the month of October has been recognized as National Arts and Humanities Month by thousands of arts and cultural organizations, communities, and states across the country, as well as by the White House and Congress for more than 2 decades. Whereas the arts and humanities embody much of the accumulated wisdom, intellect, and imagination of humankind. Whereas 3 out of 4 employers want new hires with precisely the sorts of skills that the humanities teach: critical thinking, complex problem solving, as well as written and oral communication. Whereas the nonprofit arts industry is important to our community as it generates over $135 billion in total economic activity annually and supports the full-time equivalent of more than 4 million jobs. Whereas every day, nonprofit arts, humanities, and cultural organizations act as economic drivers, creating an industry with over $22 billion in revenue to local, state, and federal governments each year. That supports jobs, generates government revenue, and is the cornerstone of our tourism industry. Now, therefore, Mick Cornett, the mayor of the city of Oklahoma City, does hereby proclaim the month of October 2014 as Arts and Humanities Month in Oklahoma City, and he calls upon citizens to celebrate the arts and culture in our city and encourage greater participation by all citizens in taking action for arts and humanities in our neighborhoods, our schools, and all areas across Oklahoma City.
Let's show our appreciation to those looking after the arts and humanities. And I'm going to ask Ann Thompson and Julia Kurt. They'll say a few words.
Thank you. I'm with the Oklahoma Humanities Council, and the humanities part of Arts and Humanities Month can be difficult to understand sometimes, but yet we all do understand what the humanities are. We just may not know that word. But those subjects are things like history and literature and philosophy and ethics, jurisprudence, those kinds of things that lend us an understanding of what it means to be human. And the word human is in the word humanities. And a logical place to find that knowledge is, of course, in a formal education setting. But for those of us who are not in school anymore, there are many opportunities in our community to go out and experience the humanities. There are museum exhibits and speakers, reading and discussion programs, film festivals, those kinds of things that help us to understand who we are as individuals, who our neighbors are, and to hopefully understand any differences there and to appreciate those differences. So what happens through the humanities is that we become better individuals, but our communities also become stronger, and that is really the importance of the humanities.
I just want to thank you for this recognition and just want to say that we're very proud of the impact that the arts have on our state and on our city on a daily basis. We're proud of the social and physical and economic development that the arts help spark. And we know that arts and humanities help convene people and expand learning. I just want to mention in the past year, we're very proud of the public support from the City of Oklahoma City for the arts through cultural facilities, as well as the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs, which has spurred all kinds of great public art that you're going to start seeing around the city, beginning with temporary projects that opened last night. And I also want to say that we could not accomplish all the amazing arts education and programs without the private support. And Allied Arts had a record campaign last year, and we're so proud of those private donors. And I was really pleased to notice that City of Oklahoma City employee giving was one of the biggest company campaigns.
That's right.
Did I get that
That's
right?
correct.
So we're really proud that city employees have given to the arts as well. So thank you so much for your support.
Let's show our appreciation. Thank you all very much. Each month, the Oklahoma City Rotary Club helps us honor one teacher who teaches in the city of Oklahoma City as our Teacher of the Month. And I'm going to ask Carrie Snyder Renfro to come forward. Carrie teaches Family and Consumer Sciences at Oklahoma Centennial Mid-High School. We have a proclamation. I'll ask the clerk to read it.
Whereas Carrie Snyder Renfro has been named Teacher of the Month by the Foundation for Oklahoma City Public Schools and Rotary Club of Oklahoma City for October 2014. Whereas Carrie Snyder Renfro teaches Family and Consumer Sciences at Oklahoma Centennial Mid-High School. Whereas Carrie was honored as the Oklahoma Centennial Mid-High School 2013-14 Building Teacher of the Year. Whereas Carrie was honored as a finalist for the 2014-15 Oklahoma City Public Schools Teacher of the Year. Whereas Carrie Snyder Renfro is a National Board Certified Teacher and is an education leader who seeks to inspire, support, and encourage other teachers. Whereas Carrie Snyder Renfro conducts herself as a consummate professional and dedicates herself to the service of her students. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby recognize and commend Carrie Snyder Renfro on her selection as October 2014 Teacher of the Month by the Foundation for Oklahoma City Public Schools and the Rotary Club of Oklahoma City.
Let's show our appreciation to Carrie. You know, we have a lot of teachers in Oklahoma City, if you didn't know, so to be selected as Teacher of the Month is quite an honor. Carrie, I'm going to let you talk, but we have to make this official. We actually have to vote on this. Okay. All right, it's a resolution. I'll ask for a motion. All right, cast your votes. It's unanimous, Carrie. How about that? Congratulations.
A quick thank you to my students who are my driving force, for sure. Oklahoma Centennial School Team, especially Ms. Gong for her collaboration and inspiration. The Rotary Club and City Council for this great honor. Robin Hilger for guidance and coaching through my National Board certification process. Oklahoma City Public Schools and Career Tech for opening the door to my teaching career from the hospitality and tourism industry for 25 years. And my family and faith who lift up my arms when I'm weary and hold my hands along the way. And all of you for coming. Thank you so much for my celebration. Yay!
Thanks, Carrie. Thank you. Yeah. She needs a little more enthusiasm, I think. All right, and it is October, so it is almost time for Halloween. And every year we select a specific day that we encourage the kids to get out in the neighborhoods to turn their lights on. And Doug Cupper is here. He runs our Parks Department, and we coordinate our city's efforts through the Parks Department. So we have a proclamation. I'll ask the clerk to read it.
Halloween is a time for jack-o'-lanterns and the annual appearance of ghosts, goblins, and strange and mysterious creatures. Whereas our city's children celebrate Halloween by dressing in costumes and visiting homes in their neighborhoods to receive traditional holiday treats. Whereas the annual Halloween activities provide an opportunity for people in our community to become better acquainted. It is important to our community that children be allowed to enjoy these traditional activities, but that measures be taken to ensure the safety of our children and protect the rights of homeowners. Now therefore, Mick Cornett, the mayor of the city of Oklahoma City, does hereby proclaim Friday, October 31st, 2014 as Trick or Treat Night in Oklahoma City and encourages children and adults to cooperate in limiting the time of activities to the afternoon and early evening hours. That households indicate their willingness to welcome their neighbors by turning on their porch and exterior lights, and that youngsters only call on homes so lighted. And he also asks the cooperation of all citizens, young and old, in making this a happy and safe occasion for all.
All right, let's show our appreciation in anticipation of Halloween.
Thank you, Mayor. It's always important from a children's safety perspective that we think about them as we go through these Halloween seasons. You know, it's great for us to do a trick-or-treat night and things along those lines, but I encourage parents, again, go to the lighted stoops, go with your children. It's a family-oriented activity. Make sure you're out there with your kids, and make sure that you inspect homemade or unwrapped treats before you let your children consume them. We want to make sure that they stay safe through this holiday season. Thank you.
Let's show our appreciation to Doug, and hope everybody participates in the Halloween, the trick-or-treat festivities this year. On the council agenda, we're on item 3, which is office of the mayor. I'll look for an appointment, for a motion on the appointments on item 3B and 3C. All right, cast your votes. It passes unanimously. And at this time, at council's request, we have asked Christy Bradley, who's the state epidemiologist, to come down and give our community and the council an update on our preparations to combat Ebola and the potential spread of that disease. And Christy, thank you for coming down.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and City Manager Couch and members of the council. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share an update on all the various activities that have been happening at the state and local level relative to Ebola preparedness and response. Obviously, this is a concern that's high on the minds of all of Oklahomans, I believe, because of all of the images that we've been seeing on the news. And we are certainly committed to making sure that our state and community is very well prepared. So just briefly, as you are probably aware, this came to the light of the public health community in the United States that we had a potential impending threat in the spring of this year when a large escalating outbreak of Ebola virus started to occur in West Africa, specifically in the countries of Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. And this was unprecedented for Ebola outbreaks in Africa because it had now spread to densely populated urban areas, and that has really facilitated the transmission of this disease, whereas previously outbreaks had occurred in rural villages, largely from the consumption of bushmeat, so it's an animal-to-human spread disease when the outbreak initially starts, but then is spread from person to person after that. So we actually began sending out health alert network messages to our hospitals the end of July, informing them that we needed to be vigilant and initiate some patient screening processes in our medical facilities to identify any person who did have a travel history to an Ebola-affected country and was exhibiting signs and symptoms consistent with Ebola virus disease. And we also began working very closely with our partners at the Oklahoma City County Health Department and Tulsa Health Department to coordinate these efforts. This is a little bit different public health response because it's very hospital-centric. We really think that a lot of the activities, should there be an Ebola case identified in Oklahoma, will occur at the hospital level. And so coordination with our medical systems, all the way from the first responders to the hospitals and the medical clinics in between and laboratories, these are all very critical partners. And so there's a great need for enhanced communication and coordination across those lines. We determined to activate an incident command system on October 10th to facilitate that coordination and communication across all the partners and different agencies and professional medical organizations that are involved in this preparedness and response effort. And of course, that was amplified quite a bit when we had the first identified case of Ebola in the United States on September 30th, and then following the 2 healthcare workers. So this is an evolving situation, and we've seen a lot of various responses to this. Most recently yesterday, we had a number of Oklahomans that were on the Carnival Magic Cruise, where there was the laboratory worker from Texas Health Presbyterian that had been on the cruise. And although she was asymptomatic, she was almost at the end of her 21-day monitoring period, everybody had a sort of an emotional overreaction to her presence on the ship, and she was isolated and even tested, and as expected, tested negative. But as a consequence of that, all of those passengers that disembarked and were cleared to go back to their schools and workplaces and daycares, there was still a lot of concern about that. And so some of those persons were actually asked to stay home until public health officials could assure them that there was no risk of Ebola transmission through their experience on that ship. And we issued a press release relative to that. Before I allow our my colleagues at the Oklahoma City County Health Department to speak more specifically to those preparedness activities that have been occurring in Oklahoma City and Oklahoma County. I do just want to stress how important it is for all of us to continue to disseminate factual information about how this disease is spread and not spread. I think our public has been so accustomed to hearing all of the instructions about influenza and how to avoid the spread of influenza, but Ebola is not influenza. It is fortunately not spread that readily. It does not survive for long periods of time on contact surfaces and things. This is really a disease that is more of a febrile, abdominal, vomiting, diarrhea type of presentation. Sneezes, sniffles, and coughs is not consistent with the presentation of Ebola. So those persons that have the disease will start with a fever, the abdominal pain, vomiting and diarrhea, and become quite sick very rapidly and will definitely need to be seeking medical care. So these concerns about possibly being exposed to Ebola by just passing through an airport or being in a mall or other public places, we hope that we can suppress those fears and really focus on where our greatest risk is, and that is in the healthcare worker community and persons who travel to those affected areas or may be in direct contact with someone who has recently become ill and has been in those affected countries in West Africa. It does require direct contact with the blood or bodily fluids of someone who is actively ill with the disease. They are not contagious prior to developing those signs and symptoms. So that's really a major tenet of our infectious disease prevention and control, and that's what we create our organizational structure around for preparedness and response. And so that's why emphasizing how the disease is spread is very important to understand, and we continue to promote that through our public health messaging. And I'm welcome to entertain any questions from the council, should there be any.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Christy?
We put a lot of information in your packet. We put Christie's talking points from the state in there. We've talked about, we have information on our protocols, the protocols given out to the hospitals and how they're reacting. So there's a lot of information, more than you probably want. But it's an interesting subject, but it's also one that is very topical and people are afraid of. And so getting as much accurate information out is really one of the things we're really trying to strive to accomplish.
Yes,
Just a quick question, Your Honor. On the two hospital workers that have been affected, there's been some talk about a poor protocol or a violation of protocol that caused them to be affected. Have we addressed that issue, protocol that we've given out to our hospitals?
Yes, that is being addressed, and of course there was great concern when we learned that despite those persons wearing the personal protection equipment that was recommended by the CDC, that they still had an exposure to Ebola and have contracted the disease. This is an evolving situation. We've never encountered this virus in the United States before and cared for patients in our modern healthcare facilities, and it's quite different caring for them in a modern hospital as compared to sort of a makeshift clinic in the bush in Africa. But what was learned is not necessarily that they violated the protocol. We learned how important it is to repeatedly drill and train hospital workers that are going to be involved in the care of patients who have Ebola in not only selecting and putting on the appropriate equipment, but taking it off. And you can get very hot and sweaty and tired underneath that equipment, and sometimes there can be lapses or overlooking some key steps in removal of the equipment that can lead to an exposure. So just last night, CDC released some revised infection control and personal protection equipment use guidelines that will help address that. Some of the key things are that now no skin exposure, particularly on the back of the neck and head, which is how it's believed that those two healthcare workers were exposed in Dallas, that in the process of taking off their face shield or their gown, that they brushed a contaminated glove on the back of their neck, and then that swept across their face and led to their exposure. So now there will be no bare skin, and that will be all covered through the use of a suit and a hood. And and other equipment. And there will also be a site manager to be constantly evaluating and reviewing and notifying workers if they see any of those lapses in infection control processes.
Yeah.
I mean, the situation in Dallas was tragic, but maybe it gives a lot of lessons. The city, I guess, would have public safety personnel potentially involved. In Dallas, you had county sheriff's office going into Mr. Duncan's apartment unprotected. Do we have the kind of suits and protection for police and fire that she's referencing?
We have, I guess I'd rather have Chief Kuhlman and Chief Bryant come in and address that. We have protocols in place to address that. I know they're both in the building and can come in.
So, and the packet was outstanding. I really appreciate putting all that together. It explained a lot. But so, City County Health Department would oversee.
Yeah, Gary's here. Gary Cox is here this morning.
So CDC and City County Health Department would oversee operations should an event occur in Oklahoma City, and then what would be the role of the city?
Obviously, our primary role is it would be the first response in dealing with the situation and the incidents that's out there. Chief Kuhlman or?
Question, Councilman. Yes, we do have protective gear that's issued to officers, and we've also just recently issued a directive to update our officers on about the problems with Ebola and about the precautions that need to be taken if we come into contact with someone that we may think has been exposed. So yes, sir, we do.
It also seems like people don't like to be quarantined. The NBC crew, the quarantine in Dallas, people break their quarantine, and I guess it would be police that would be asked to enforce that. That requires an order from a district judge? Or
yes, sir, that would be correct. We'd have to get with emergency management and city county health and eventually ask a judge to issue some type of an order, and of course we could enforce that court order.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Christy?
I would just point out that if you're interested, we are posting daily situational updates on our website for the State Health Department. That's ebola.health.ok.gov. And we are interested in hearing from you as well if there are any things that we haven't addressed in our planning that you would like to see more focus on. I think we'll have a much stronger response the more we work collaboratively together. So I feel very good about Oklahoma when I go out amongst my colleagues, and we have worked together in many different responses, whether they're natural disasters or infectious disease responses, and so that experience of working together does us well.
All right, Christy, thank you. Why don't we bring Gary Cox up and let Gary add anything that he'd like to give. Gary is running the City County Board of Health.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilor, City Councilors, and City Manager Couch. Thanks for the opportunity to share with you this morning just a little bit of information. Just as a point of background, public health, how it's organized in Oklahoma, is you have in the metropolitan areas of Oklahoma City and Tulsa, you have two independent city county health departments in those metropolitan areas. And then the state health department is responsible for the other 75 counties in the state. Of course, we work very closely with the state health department in all of our efforts. Since really our preparation began in earnest for this type of a situation right after 9/11, 2001, and so that's when we implemented a multifaceted approach to bioterrorism. And this was kind of an all hazards readiness. So it's not only bioterrorism, but naturally occurring diseases such as we have with Ebola. And of course, that includes, so also we've had a response plan in effect since shortly after 9/11, 2001. And it's an all hazards type of a plan. So we've got trained personnel who are well trained. They exercise and they work with other first responders, the city, the police, the EMSA, hospitals and others, and so we actually exercise that plan and try to refine it and improve it. Basically, when it comes to Ebola, our plan consists of identification, and that would be through symptoms and recent travel to West Africa in the case of Ebola, contact tracing, and then the isolation and monitoring. And we do have the authority as City County Health Department, both under city ordinance and state law, if the need should arise to issue an order of isolation or quarantine. That's not something that we like to do, but if we had to do it in order to control the outbreak, that authority is there. We certainly work with first responders, as we mentioned, with the airports and with many others. As you mentioned, one of the really important things is to get accurate information out. And so we're seeking to get information out, as is the State Health Department, to media, through social media, through our website. We're constantly updating that, through partner meetings, meeting with schools, meeting with other municipalities, community groups, education sessions. So there have been several false alarms here in Oklahoma City and Oklahoma County, and these have been mitigated, but each one of these gives us an opportunity as a system in Oklahoma City with all of the partners together to see where we can improve and if there are any weaknesses that need to be looked at and improved. So basically, we would say that in our community here, the variables that we just don't know about with Ebola consist of, could the gene mutate? That's unlikely. Will the outbreak be controlled in West Africa? Hopefully so in the near future. And then the vaccine, which is under development, will the vaccine be actually developed? When will it be developed? And how effective will that be? So these are variables that we just don't know right now. But we can say currently the general risk to the population in Oklahoma City would be a low-risk situation with the variables that we know at this point in time. So again, we're happy to answer any questions that you have. We're happy to take your suggestions and your input. We're always looking to improve our partnerships and our protocols and our procedures. And so we're here, and our staff is on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've got our head of emergency preparedness back here, Phil Maytubby, and the head of our epidemiology group is back here as well, Cynthia Harry. And so we have a great staff, and they're dedicated to protecting the citizens of Oklahoma City 24/7.
All right. Gary, we appreciate your work. Any comments or questions for Gary? All right, Gary, I think the takeaway from this is, are we prepared? And I guess the answer is we believe we are.
Yes.
But
yes.
We'll see.
And we will see, but hopefully we won't have to deal with it here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. We all hope that. Thank you, Gary. All right, we're on item 4 of the council agenda. This is the Journal of Council Proceedings. Item 4A is to receive the journal, and item 4B is to approve the journal. Comments or questions on the journal? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. And item 5 is request for uncontested continuances.
Mayor, just a few this morning. On page 18, item 9, I-1, item K, 419 Southeast 79th Street. We ask that be stricken. The owner has removed. Moving to page 19, under item 9J1, item C, 5520 Kathy Drive. We ask that be stricken. Owner has secured. Item F, 1829 East Madison. We ask that be stricken. Owner has secured. Item H, 6913 South Chartel. We ask that be stricken. Owner has secured. Item J, 809 Whispering Oak Road. We ask that be stricken. Owner has secured. Item L, 8308 Northwest 8th Street. We ask that be stricken. Owner has secured. Item U, 4124 Northwest 59th Street, who has that be stricken, owner has secured. And finally, item V, 220 Northwest 89th Street, who has that be stricken, owner has secured.
Any other requests for uncontested continuances? All right, we'll move on to item 6, it's revocable permits. First is a request from Capitol Hill Main Street, Inc. to hold a Haunt the Hill event on Halloween, October 31st, and it'll be down in the middle of Capitol Hill. Is anyone here from Capitol Hill Main Street representing this? Yeah, come on up. And we'll need your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Jorge Hernandez, and I'm the Executive Director for Capitol Hill Main Street. And our address is 317 Southwest 25th.
What can you tell us about this event?
Well, actually, Haunt the Hill was, has been running for quite some time through the Oklahoma City Library down in Capitol Hill. And so they've done such a good job with it that they've quickly outgrown their space there. And so they've asked us last year to partner with them. And so we've extended it to the whole neighborhood there in the business district of Capitol Hill. And last year we had over 800 students come out. We focused on the elementary schools around Capitol Hill. And it was such a great success that we're going to do it again this year.
Well, thank you for your efforts, and I'm sure
Thank
council
you.
will agree.
And we invite each one of you to come out.
Right away, perfect. City is invited out to Capitol Hill then on Halloween night.
That's right, 5 to 8 p.m.
Excuse me?
5 to 8 p.m.
5 to 8p. All right,
Yes.
Jorge, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd
Yeah,
move
Pete.
approval. It was very successful last year, and we look forward to being a great event again this year. Everybody ought to come out. It's a good family event.
It is.
All right, cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
Item 6A2 is a request from OKC Events and Entertainment to hold the OKC Halloween Parade. It's scheduled for October 25th on Broadway. Anyone here representing this event? Mike, you want to come on up?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. This is kind of a continuation of an event that has taken place the past 7 years that was put on by the Oklahoma Gazette. They chose no longer to continue the event, so we have put together a group to continue the Halloween Parade, the Oklahoma City Halloween Parade, which will be a celebration of the arts and creativity. We're making a real effort this year to tie in closely with the arts community. We are, first of all, donating all the entry fees to Allied Arts, to support Allied Arts, which is on Automobile Alley, which that's where the parade will take place this year. It'll be from 13th Street to 4th Street on this Saturday at 7 o'clock. And then after the parade, we're going to have a costume party and a band playing, and et cetera, et cetera. So we keep all the activity on Automobile Alley. And again, we're making a real effort to support the arts. We have two artists that have created special awards for the parade. We commissioned these pieces, Art Fusion Glass. And so those will be actually the awards for the parade. So we're doing everything we can to tie the arts community into this and supporting Automobile Alley. I will say, we appreciate Drew Watson and his staff with the city helping us get this coordinated this year.
All right, Mike, we appreciate your work. Thanks for allowing this event to continue.
Mike, how many entries do you think you have in the parade so far?
We have about 25 right now. It was a little more challenging, as you know, because I know you've participated in the past. We picked it up kind of late, but again, there's a lot of interest in the city about continuing the event. So, and we're going to make it a little more family-friendly, I think, as we move on. Next year, we've talked about even having a parade, especially for the children, starting at like 6, and then doing a more adult version at 7:30. So we're looking at all that to make it really a family-friendly event.
Great. And the street will stay closed after the parade to come back to do kind of a street
Just the block
parade?
between 7th and 8th Street will be closed. Right.
Great. I'd move approval.
Thank you.
All right, cast your votes on 6A2. Passed unanimously.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mayor and
Mike.
Council.
Item 6A3 is a request from OKC Pride to hold treats on 39th Street. Halloween night. Anyone here representing this event?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Michael Clark. I'm the president of OKC Pride, and I want to thank the council for hearing us today. I would mention that we will be an entry in the parade on Saturday, but on Friday, on Halloween night, we've proposed a block party on 39th Street between Penn and Barnes. We've got a couple bands lined up with live music, food trucks, beer, and just want to have a safe, fun environment for people to celebrate the Halloween holiday. This is a first annual event, but we plan to make it an annual event and have this grow every year.
Well, we appreciate your efforts. Yeah. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes on item 6A3. It passed unanimously.
Thank you.
And item 6A4 is a request from the Professional Basketball Club, LLC. Anyone here representing the Oklahoma City Thunder? I am. Oh, wonderful.
Good
We will
morning.
need
I'm
your
Mary
name
Jo
and
Hope, the event manager for the Thunder. We're looking forward to another great season, our 7th season here in Oklahoma City, and we'll be hoping to host Thunder Alley for all of our games in November, and then start back up in the spring in April.
All right, so the request is to hold Thunder Alley again on front of the arena, between the convention center and the sports arena. How about a motion? All right, cast your votes. And item 6A4 passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll now recess the council meeting, convene as the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority. There are 5 items. All right.
Mayor, we do have Diana Berry here to give a short presentation on the clinic.
Okay, this is item C, I believe, right?
That's correct.
Agenda. All right, Diana.
Good morning, and thank you. We're very excited about the item before you today. This has been a very lengthy yet deliberate process to get us here. Before I start, I would like to thank a few individuals: Colin Fonda, Employee Benefits Manager; Wiley Williams, Deputy Municipal Counselor; Amy Simpson, Purchasing Agent; and Jason Teedy, the Occupational Health Manager. They did serve on the selection committee to help get us to this point today. So we'll get set up here shortly and begin. Why are we doing this? So the purpose for us proposing that we open an employee medical clinic is the personnel department continues to look for ways to control health insurance costs without sacrificing the quality of services that our health plan participants receive. During our research, we discovered that many employers were opening on-site or near-site employee medical clinics for that very reason, to control costs and to without sacrificing the quality of care. So in February of 2013, we presented a request for proposal to you. You authorized the issuance of that request for proposal. And in response to that request, we did receive 4 proposals from CARE ATC, I Am Well, Integris Ambulatory Care Corporation, and St. Anthony Physicians Group. The selection committee took an extensive period of time, a little more than a year, to thoroughly evaluate those proposals, which included presentations from each of those 4 groups, and ultimately decided that CARE ATC provided the best overall proposal. And that was based on their experience providing similar services for other government entities, their fee structure, as well as the fact that they would not be processing medical claims through the city's health insurance plan. And so you authorized negotiations with CARE ATC in March of 2014, and negotiations have been underway since that time. The term of the agreement is 4 years with an option for 1 additional year renewal for a total of 5 years. Eligibility to utilize the clinic would be City of Oklahoma City Health Plan participants, that would be employees, also non-Medicare retirees and their spouses, and also dependents who are age 2 and above. Medicare eligible retirees are not eligible at this time. Some of the services that will be provided include wellness services. Personal health assessments will be conducted on an annual basis. Minor acute illness evaluation, management and treatment, such as for coughs, earaches, sinus infections, chronic illness management evaluation and treatment. That would be for diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, obesity. There will be limited vaccinations offered at the clinic. If you'll notice, the Tdap vaccination is the only one listed. That's for tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis. CARE ATC's current fee structure does not include any routine vaccine being stored at the clinic other than the Tdap. However, I did have a conversation with CARE AT representatives and emphasized that the influenza vaccine needs to be stored and offered at our clinic, and that will be done next year. There will be a limited list of generic drugs that are stored and dispensed at the clinic for treatment of common illnesses, some infections, hypertension, diabetes, asthma, et cetera. The clinic will not stock nor dispense controlled prescription drugs such as hydrocodone or Valium. Clinic will be staffed with 1 physician and 2 medical assistants. Patient confidentiality will be paramount. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act will apply. This will be no different. It's important for the users of the clinic to understand that this will be no different than visiting their own individual doctor's offices. The city will not have access to patient records nor receive any information about the patient's individual medical condition. In addition, city staff require that CARE ATC arrange for its own information technology or IT network and connectivity independent of the City of Oklahoma City's, so as to better ensure that confidentiality of electronic medical records. The fee for operation of the medical clinic is $1.3 million annually. This is based on the number of physician hours. The clinic will be open for 40 hours per week, and that equates to 40 hours of physician services. If demand for the clinic increases, which corresponds to a demand in physician hours, then we would see a fee increase. The fee schedule is reflected in Exhibit B. I also want to point out that that fee schedule that is listed in Exhibit B is good for 24 months or 2 years. So there is a guaranteed fee schedule for 2 years. After that period of time, if a fee increase is warranted, it is restricted to a maximum of 3%. I also want to point out that the original fee proposed by CARE ATC was $2.5 million. So as you can see, the fee that we've negotiated is almost half the amount that was originally proposed by CARE ATC. The clinic location and hours of operation. The clinic location is not specifically referenced in this contract. However, I did think it was important to provide you with the information. It will be located on the lower level, the northeast side of the new Arts District parking garage. The OCMFA will lease space from COTPA under a separate agreement. However, in anticipation of presenting you with this item today, we did negotiate a fee. The fee would be $30,000 annually, which would be in addition to the $1.3 million. We will offer validated parking for users of the clinic who don't work in the downtown campus area. And as I mentioned before, the clinic will be open for 40 hours per week, and we anticipate an opening date sometime in January of 2015. I apologize for this next slide. I know you can't really see everything that's on there, but this is a draft of the build-out plans for the clinic. The clinic is going to be approximately 2,400 square feet. It will have 4 exam rooms, 2 physician offices, a secure area for medication storage, ADA-compliant bathroom, a laboratory for blood draws or urine specimens, and an area for medical clinic to have as a break room and conference area. There will be reports required of CARE ATC on a regular basis, monthly, quarterly, and annual. It will contain aggregate data, so no identifying patient information will be provided. These will reflect such things as chronic disease identification, chronic disease management, health trends. Are our employees getting better or worse? Are they staying the same? Medication usage, what kinds of things are being dispensed at the clinic? Do we need to change the types of medication, increase or decrease the current stock of medication? Is the clinic being utilized? The success of this clinic is going to depend on utilization. So we want to know whether or not people are utilizing the clinic. And also, just as important is patient satisfaction. We want to know that patients are satisfied with the physician and other medical services they're receiving, that they're not having to wait too long, that the clinic is clean, and they feel good about the services that they're receiving. One of the other important parts of this agreement that I think we should be very proud of is CARE ATC advised us that we are the only client, or would be the only client, who has required performance targets to be included in the contract. We want to know that we're receiving a return on our investment. And so we have negotiated performance targets into the contract, and those will include clinic utilization. So by December of 2017, we want to know that at least half of the eligible participants are using the clinic. We want to experience a cost reduction over medical claims, a 20% decrease in the overall medical claim cost. That would be adjusted by medical inflation. And also, we want to know that patients are experiencing good outcomes. We want to know that of those that are using the clinic, that at least 30% of those are experiencing improved medical conditions based on those that were identified in their personal health assessments. Marketing of the clinic. If you approve this agreement today, things will start to move very quickly. One of the first things that will happen is the Central Oklahoma Transportation and Parking Authority will start receiving bids for the build-out of the clinic. Informational material will start to be developed and disseminated to eligible employees and retirees. City staff and CARE-TC staff will begin scheduling informational meetings with those eligible employees and retirees. And we will also have recruitment of medical personnel that begins. One of the things I failed to do, and I apologize for that, we do have CARE-TC representatives present today. We have Paul Keeling, who is the Chief Business Development Officer, and we have Ann Goforth, who is the Director of Client and Clinic Services. And so that concludes my presentation. I apologize that it went so quickly, but I'm available to answer any questions, as are the CARE-TC representatives.
All right, any questions for Diana? Yeah, Ed?
I just want to express my gratitude for, I mean, this isn't a 2 month, this is well over 2 years of work. I've watched, so you and Colin and Wiley and just the whole board traveling throughout the state, out of state to San Antonio. Seems like a textbook case of learning best practices of the way other governments are doing it, and then taking the best and taking it a step further. The performance targets, as you said, isn't seen elsewhere, and I think that's great. So I just want to express my gratitude for a lot of hard work and bringing this together. You talked about that you'd like to see in basically 3 years a 20% decrease in the health plan costs. That would be, since we spend about 75 million, or we're talking about 15 million as a target?
We're looking at somewhere between $8 and $10 million as a target, and understanding that we know that that's a stretch. But we did want to have something that we were striving for. We do believe that if utilization is as we expect it to be, I think one of the important things and will be emphasized through our employee and retiree group meetings, is that this is at no cost. That fee that I mentioned, that $1.3 million fee that I mentioned, is an all-inclusive fee. And so any services that are rendered at the clinic, which would include any medical treatment, any laboratory work that's necessary, any vaccinations that are given, and any generic prescription drugs that are given. That's all included in that $1.3 million fee. So there's no additional cost to the health plan participant. We think that if utilization is as we expect it to be, then that's going to drive down the cost of our health insurance claims. So those services that they're receiving at the employee medical clinic, they will no longer be processing those through our health insurance plan.
And so it's 2,400 square feet. How much space do you have for expansion should you need it? Could you expand?
I think we could possibly expand. We did include the entire 2,400 square feet to allow for expansion. But I also think it's important to know that if we outgrow that clinic, CARE-TC is prepared to open a second location.
Now, that's a challenge we'd like to have in the next couple of years.
Yes, right. Absolutely.
Is to have that. We probably don't have a lot of expansion room in that location because there's some other folks that would like to office in there, and so we're working through that. But I'd love to be able to have to address that issue in 3 or 4 years.
Well, here's one reason I'm asking, Jim, and just to put on the council's radar, if this were to work and this model were to work, one thing that we might consider as a council is adding imaging to it, specifically an MRI. If we're just paying for all of our employees' health care, so we're paying a little under $1,000 per MRI, and we get, if you combine with fire, about 700 MRIs a year. That was in 2012, it's probably higher now. So if you added billing Medicare, I mean, you might be talking about $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 per year. An MRI costs $1 million. I mean, that seems like a way to really drive down costs. to guarantee the profitability of this kind of endeavor. And so that would require some kind of coordination with fire, since a lot of those MRIs are with fire. But just something to think about is adding imaging in the future.
And thank you, Councilman, for bringing that up. That's the other group I mentioned who are ineligible to utilize the clinic at this point. If you will recall, the firefighters withdrew from the city's health insurance plan in January of 2003, and they established their own health insurance trust. And so the clinic is only available for those individuals who are currently enrolled in the city's health insurance plan.
Right. All right. Yeah, Pat?
Just a quick question, Diana. You said that, you mentioned a couple of times, I think, the clinic would be open 40 hours a week.
Yes.
Have we decided which 40 hours? Will it be open at all during the weekends?
We have not decided on the hours yet. Quite honestly, more than likely, it's going to be open Monday through Friday. We will be working with CARE-TC staff to identify which hours of the day the clinic will be open. We have not determined the hours of the day yet. So there is a possibility for some weekend hours. It's highly unlikely, at least initially. But once we get those utilization reports, if we see that there are peak times or peak days, and maybe we need to increase utilization on some of the days that the clinic is not open, or open the clinic on those days that it's not open, we can certainly look at doing that.
I think you ought to keep the weekend in mind.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you have any questions for Paul or Ann, they're here.
Okay. Looks like we're good to go. Diana, thanks for all your work on this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a motion on the MFA as a whole? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. We'll adjourn the OCMFA, convene as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority. 3 items. All right, comments or questions on the PPA? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. We'll adjourn the OCPPA, convene as the Oklahoma City Environmental Assistance Trust. Just the claims and payroll today. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Adjourn the OCEAT, reconvene the council meeting with a consent docket. All right, we have a motion and a second. I know we have, let's see, one presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead and have that? Scott
Great.
Dedman with ADG is here, and this is on...
It's on the new court complex that we're going to be putting out to bid in the near future, and Scott's been the architect on both the police headquarters and the courts complex.
All right, this is item Y on the agenda.
This is a project that was funded in the 2007 bond issue.
Good morning. I'm Scott Dedman with ADG, 116 East Sheridan. And this is a project we've been involved with since 2010. Started out developing a master plan for how to renovate the police and courts building. The decision was made at that time that it was more economical and more feasible to actually create a new police headquarters and a new municipal court. So this is the second, or actually the third part of this project that we've been working on, and we're presenting the preliminary report for approval today. As you can see, I won't go through the list, but we have a nationwide group of consultants that have been working on this project with us for several years now. The court's location is directly north of the existing police headquarters, and it's a part of the Civic Center complex. So we're very excited and very proud to be taking part in developing a building in the Civic Center complex. As you can see from the historical photograph, the site is up at the very top with the red circle. And sort of the original buildings of the Civic Center complex. And we wanted to pay particular attention to those so that we designed something that would fit well within the Civic Center complex. Just some of the things, some of the design themes that we looked at to develop these are of course the masonry work, the stone, the brick, the way the fenestrations are done in the different projects. We have a lot of vertical fenestrations, a lot of ornamental detail in the window work, and things like that. Again, we want to take a look at the context of where the building sits and what are the buildings around it. So again, we're taking into account such as the Museum of Art and sort of the contemporary nature of that, as well as some of the materials on the county jail, the property storage building, and of course the Civic Center buildings as well. And the first part of this project is the police headquarters. It's under construction right now. You can start to see some of the materials coming about. We are using the same material palette from police as on the courts complex. And from this view, you can see the site. The site is directly north of the existing police headquarters and municipal courts. It's an existing parking lot that is owned by Urban Renewal. And I believe all of that has passed through Urban Renewal now and has been approved. And this will be the location of the new municipal courts building. As you can see from the site plan, north would be to the top of the sheet, facing Couch Drive. We've set back the building slightly to create sort of a public plaza. One of the big issues at the existing municipal courts is that it becomes quite crowded outside of the main entry. So we want to be able to open that up and create some space. This is also a potential location for public art as we move into the public art phase of this project. Just sort of the overall view, this actually shows once both the courts and police have vacated the existing building, that it opens up space in the middle, right now planned for a secured police parking. And this is a view really looking at the public plaza and the main entry of the courts. This is from Couch Drive. The predominant material that will be facing that is it's a CSMU block. It has very much the appearance of limestone without some of the cost of limestone. So this is a material that you'll see going up on the police headquarters on the southwest corner. It's up about 3 or 4 feet right now, but it's a very, very lovely material. You can also see in this image the main entry and the atrium that is in the center of the facility. So this is a 3-story atrium that opens up and really creates a nice public space within that area. And a little bit more of a close-up view of that entry and of the atrium glass. So right now the schedule is today, October, we're presenting the preliminary report for approval, and then next month we'll be coming back to get the final plans approved. We anticipate the bid opening will occur in December and that construction will start in January of 2015 with a completion date of fall of 2016. Right now, the original construction budget when we did the initial report was $19,700,000. The preliminary report cost estimate is at $19,500,000, and we're tracking very close on that cost right now. So that's just a real brief synopsis. I believe the report's been included, but we're very excited about the project.
What was the cost in the bond issue when we put this to the voters?
Well, it was a combined project with the police headquarters, and we had a funding shortage, if you recall, of $8 to $10 million. And so we came up with a funding plan to fill that gap and went from the renovated buildings to the 2 new standalone buildings.
Okay. Questions? Yeah, Pete?
Does one of these slides show the location of this building overlaid of where everything is now? Could you
Yes.
go back to where I could see that? If I missed it,
There you go.
Let me back up one more here, or 2 more. So the existing, I don't have a cursor here, but the existing police and courts is right in the center of that image. So
right.
the new police headquarters is at the top of the page, and then the new municipal courts would be down page with the civic center to the far left.
okay, thanks.
Scott, what's the timeline on the police headquarters? Are we on track for that?
Yes, we're very much on track. I think it's moving along
It's just
quite
coming
well.
along fantastically.
Yes, it has. It's gone
great.
very smooth.
Talk to me a little bit about that block material. What is the?
It's a calcium silicate stone, and it's used quite a lot now for as a product that's similar to limestone at a much less of a cost. We've used it on several projects.
Any other questions on the municipal courts building?
Your Honor, who will be responsible for the maintenance of the building?
The city will be responsible for.
And then will they also be responsible for the police headquarters building?
Yes, sir.
And Jim, I did have one other quick question. There was a slide, maybe the last one, that showed surface parking in the current police headquarters and courts space. Is that our current plan, or are we thinking about structured parking?
We don't have a funding source for structured parking at this time. It could be structured parking, we just don't. We need to do a little more analysis on that.
All righty. Thank you.
All right, looks like we're good to go, Scott. Thank you. Any individual comments on the rest of the consent docket from the council?
Mayor, I had a couple of things. As I did a couple of weeks ago, I'd like to ask item 7AG is a professional services agreement with our proposed lobbyist, and I'd like to ask if we could pull that and vote on that separately. And I did want to just mention 7Q and 7AH.
Your Honor, I have a quick question on AC.
All right. Pat, you want to go ahead and get started with AC?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a question. This is a very important piece of roadway we're trying to improve here, and it's a joint venture with the federal and the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. And it is right in the area where Highway 74 is going to be expanded. Will we coordinate this with ODOT so that we'll do this at the same time they're working in that area?
Thank you, Mr. Councilman. Yes, we actually are. And the actual purpose of this is that we're actually going to split this project, which was one larger project, into two smaller projects, and to get those funding applications into ACOG in seeking a participation from the state and federal funds. So, but yes, it's being coordinated with ODOT very closely.
Do we have any feel, Eric, for the time of this particular project, timing?
You know, I don't, and some of it's going to depend on the availability of funding. So as soon as we get this application and your approval of this today, we'll probably be able to visit more with ACOG about that, and I can provide a timeline later.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Meg, you wanted to talk about 7Q and AH?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. 7Q is also a really important item to bring forward. This is package 7B of Project 180. And this item offers final plans and specifications to be advertised for bids on the section that would be Park Avenue from Hudson to North Broadway, and North Broadway between Robert S. Kerr and Main Street. So very significant downtown streets. I know that we're going to try to work these in sections, but it's going to be tough for folks to get around for a while.
Yeah, few people work on those streets.
Just a couple. A couple of people live on them too, which is going to make this complicated. But I just want to make sure that people are aware of the timeline. Bid receipt date is November 18th, and I think we anticipate construction to begin right at the very end of the year. So I know that we're working with the business owners along Park Avenue and others. Just want to make sure we continue that communication so folks know what to anticipate.
We will.
Thank you very much. And item 7AH, again, I just wanted to recognize this is an agreement with the Economic Development Trust, the Oklahoma City MAPS Public Schools Trust, and the I-89 district to provide some tax increment financing, both for the school administration building, which is located about 6th and Classen, and for Emerson School. So really good use of those TIF dollars generated out of the Devon project to be used by our school district.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
We have a motion and second. Why don't we amend that just to include everything except item AG? And so let's vote on the consent docket except for AG. Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Then I'll look for a motion on item AG. All right, we have a motion and a second. We're voting on item AG. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. We're now on to item 8 on the council agenda. This is a concurrence docket. How about a motion here? All right, any comments or questions on the concurrence? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. And now we're on to item 9. These are items that require a separate vote. We'll start with a series of zoning cases. The first is in Ward 8. It's an ABC issue at 7001 West Hefner Road. Pat?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a great project, and it takes a building's vacant now and puts something in it that will actually attract people, generate sales tax revenue, and make the shopping center that it is in a little bit more prosperous looking. And I would move approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from anyone on 9A1? All right, cast your votes. It passes unanimously.
And Your Honor, I'd like to ask for the emergency on this one.
All right. We have a
On the
second on the emergency. 7? Okay. And it passes 7-0.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We're on item 9A2. It's a zoning case in Ward 3 at 10500 South County Line Road. It's currently a plan unit development. Would be a new PUD if approved. Larry?
Thank you, Your Honor. If the applicant would come forward. Has anybody signed up? Okay. David, if you would, give the council an overview of this project and pay particular attention, if you would, council. There's a number of items I think that may not be included in the hard copy you have now that have been agreed to, so if you'd highlight those as you go along, David.
Yes, that's correct. David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. This is a bit of an unusual situation in that we've got a PUD that was recommended for approval by Planning Commission in 2006. Subsequent to 2006, there has been a preliminary plat and a final plat, both approved by Planning Commission, contingent upon council approving the PUD. Once the notice got sent out, the neighbors to the east of us expressed some concern, so we did defer the item twice to have 2 separate meetings. And what came out of those meetings are some of the changes that Councilman McAtee alluded to. What we've agreed to do is, within the PUD, add a minimum square footage of homes shall be 2,500 square feet. We will prohibit site-proof fencing inside the entire PUD. We will prohibit construction traffic through Phase 1, that being the neighborhood to the east. All accessory structures within the PUD have a maximum square footage of 1,200 square feet. We will have no sprinkling required because due to the delay we now have city water. And the fencing that is in front of Southern Preserve Phase 1, the development to the east, my client has agreed to continue the decorative fencing along 104th extending to the west. So with that, we believe that the neighbors were in agreement with the proposal now before the council.
Thank you, David. There are no protests. Unless there are some questions from the council, I move for approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
I actually have a question. Did you say prohibit site-proof fencing?
Yes, the neighborhood to the east is a acre lots, and so they don't have any fences. And so right, they wanted no fencing. You could have some decorative, metal, iron type fencing, but no stockade or vinyl.
All right, we're voting on item 9A2. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 9A3 is a zoning case in Ward 3 at 7600 Southwest 15th Street. It's currently got a series of different zoning, and it's going to all be turned into a plan unit development. Larry?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. If the applicant come forward, has anybody signed up to speak on this? Dennis, if you would, give the council an overview of what's going on here and some of the key considerations that are involved in this particular transaction.
Thank you, Councilman McAtee. Dennis Box on behalf of the applicant. And this is an application. There'll be approximately 39 acres added to the existing landfill that's in the area. I want to thank Councilman McAtee for his work. We work with the Riverfront Trust. We've made certain modifications. Part of the application with regard to Southwest 15th Street, at one time it was determined it was going to be expanded. That has now gone away, and therefore part of our expansion will be up on 15th Street. 2 weeks ago, Hobby Lobby filed a letter expressing certain concerns. Kelly Work is here on behalf of Hobby Lobby. We've had the opportunity to work with them for the last 2 weeks. We've reached an accord and agreement with them. When you go down to Southwest 29th Street, one of the things we did was ensure that the buffer and greenbelt area, which was provided for in the PUD, was set out in such a way that there would be no question about how our buffer would be looked at. There's no access for our commercial vehicles on Southwest 29th Street. So in a nutshell, this will allow for an additional 10 years. For the landfill, we'll provide protection for those that surround it, and to the south, we've got the buffers protected. Mr. Work is here, and it's my understanding that Hobby Lobby has no objection.
Good morning. Mayor and members of the council, my name is Kelly Work. My address is 105 North Hudson, Oklahoma City, and I am here on behalf of Hobby Lobby in connection with this application. We are in support of the application. As Mr. Box mentioned, this item was on the agenda a couple of weeks ago, and we had requested that Waste Connections defer it to today's meeting to give us an opportunity to address some concerns with them that we had. As you all know, Hobby Lobby is expanding in this area and is presently building south of Southwest 29th Street a new warehouse and offices that will front on Southwest 29th Street directly across from this property. So in the interim, we did have meetings with Waste Connections and let them know about the concerns that we had, and they have responded favorably and made revisions to the PUD to the point where we're satisfied that there will be adequate protections, and we appreciate their willingness to be a good neighbor to us as we move into this area. So we're in support. We appreciate Waste Connections' willingness to work with us on revising the PUD. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly. Dennis, if you would, there are a couple of other things. This is an ongoing situation, obviously. This waste area has been in use for a number of years. When it was expanded back several years ago, there was a commitment made that when the territory of the original site was through being used as a waste dump, it was going to be converted into a low-impact park, and that still is going to happen sometime out in the future when this site plays out. Is that correct?
That is correct, and part of our modifications, we've expanded the air trail system. As you're aware, we've placed over $900,000 within the city coffers for insurance that this park area will be built.
This mountain, Mount Trashmore, could very end up as the highest point of viewing of Oklahoma City in the future, so we thank Waste Connections for that. Waste Connections has also made another commitment, has it not, to improve the ingress and egress to the site. They have to go through Southwest 15th and Council Road, and they've made a commitment to enhance that area also, have they not?
That is correct. We have provided for funding in regard to the improvements that will take place on Southwest 15th Street, and we're working with the city in regard to those improvements. We've also provided for certain funds for lakes around the area for certain charities, and that's all part of their commitment to the city of Oklahoma City.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Unless there's questions from the council, hearing no objection, and it did pass the Planning Commission, I move for approval. As amended. As amended.
All right. We have a motion and a second. We're voting on item 9A3. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9A4 is a zoning case in Ward 8 at 13600 Memorial Park Drive. It's currently a plan unit development, would become a new simplified plan unit development if approved. Pat?
Thank you, Your Honor. David, would you like to say a few words about this project? You might mention the sign they originally wanted.
Yes. David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. This is an exciting application up on Memorial Road, just east of the Hefner Parkway, for the Papado Seafood Kitchen. It's their first entrance into this market. And what we have is a Spud 777. And at the time of Planning Commission, my client agreed to an 8-foot sign. When they went back to do site-specific designs, they realized that the sign that they agreed to be 8 feet was in fact 12 feet. So I did go back and spoke to the Planning Commissioner for this ward and explained that the sign we showed you wasn't the 8 feet, it's actually 12 feet. And the reason they need it to be the 12 feet is some of the increased landscaping they're going to do at the base. So what you see in your packet is in fact the 12-foot sign, and so we would just ask that that be modified to be the 12-foot sign.
As far as the other amendments, there's no question?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're ready to vote on item 9A4.
Are there any, or do we have any, what sign up? I move approval. As amended.
Cast your votes on 9A4. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 9A5 is a zoning case in Ward 2 at 3200 North Walker. It's currently an HP Preservation District, and it'd be a new simplified planning and development if approved. Ed?
The applicant is Oklahoma City Public Schools. Has anybody signed up to speak? So this is to allow a health clinic at Edgemere on 32nd and Walker. There was no protests. I'd move for approval.
All right, cast your votes on item 9A5. It passes unanimously. All right, item 9B, our ordinance is here for final hearing. Item 9B1 is a request to close the south half of a platted 20-foot alley in the Thomas Boulevard addition. It's in Ward 6. Meg?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Is the applicant here? Anybody here to speak on this? This looks like a fairly simple, this is an opportunity to provide some additional space to accommodate a co-location on an existing telecommunications tower. The Planning Commission recommended approval and concluded that closing the alley should not adversely affect the public, and there were no protests at Planning Commission. I would move approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We're voting on 9B1. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9B2 is to close a 10-foot utility easement in Ward 3. Larry, you okay with this?
Yes, this little park here is kind of the gateway to the West 10 neighborhood from I-44 west to Lake Overholser. It's been maintained for a number of years with the help of Smith Lawn and Garden and the participants in the West 10 neighborhood, and this will help move this park forward, so I move for approval.
Okay, we're voting on item 9B2. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9B3 is to close a platted utility easement in Ward 3 on Hutton Road. Larry?
Any protesters, friends? No. Move for approval.
Okay, we're voting on item 9B3. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9B4 is to close a 20-foot alley in Ward 6. This would be along North Blackwelder Avenue.
Thank you, Mayor. This is located between 2nd and 3rd on North Blackwelder. City of Oklahoma City is actually the applicant here, and the purpose for the closure is to make some improvements to the Pilot Community Center. There were no protests at the Planning Commission, and I would move approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We're voting on item 9B4. It passes unanimously. And item 9C is a couple of items that have been recommended for denial by the Planning Commission. The first is in Ward 6. This request is to close a portion of South Harvey Avenue in the South Oklahoma City addition. Meg?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Is there anybody here that signed up to speak on this item? Well, seeing none, I have studied the packet carefully and read all of the transcripts from the various meetings, and at this time, I would move to deny the agenda item based on both the Planning Commission's recommendation on its finding that the closing of that portion of South Harvey and 2nd Street is premature, and also based on the comments by Public Works that keeping these two streets open is currently vital to the safe and efficient flow of downtown traffic.
All right, we have a motion to deny, and it's been seconded. We're voting on item 9C1. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9C2 is another item that's been denied by the Planning Commission. This one's in Ward 7, and it would close a portion of Southeast 27th Street. John?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item actually came in front of our Planning Commission on several occasions. One particular vote, it was 4-4. Then another particular vote, it was 4-4. And then last time that it was heard at Planning Commission, it was a 3-5, then a 5-2, 6-2, something like that. But I do see that the applicant is present. Cameron Company is one of the largest employers in this section of Oklahoma City. So I'm just going to ask the applicant to please come forward. I did have the opportunity to go to door to door on 27th Street and to hear any concerns of the neighbors, but I'm going to hold my comments and allow the applicant to speak.
Great. Thank you, John. Good morning. The slides that we submitted, do we have those? Perfect. Thank you. My name is Webster Madole. I work at Cameron. We're at 845 Southeast 29th Street. If I could, I'd just briefly tell you a little bit about the site, the problem, and then our proposed solution. Cameron, the facility at Southeast 29th, has been there since 1946. We've been very fortunate. We employ just over 450 people, predominantly from Oklahoma City, and we've seen good growth, about 500 million in shipments, and a lot of our suppliers come from Oklahoma City as well. As a piece of that growth, we're committed to be a good community partner. We work close in step with Lee Elementary School. We do mentoring for them. We've worked very hard to beautify the neighborhood, our campus, work with our neighbors, and in that light, we've got an opportunity on our campus. Whoops. Taking a look at the situation here, if you look at I guess my left, the campus, so to familiarize yourself, so 29th Street, High on the east, Phillips on the west, up to 27th Street is completely owned by Cameron, and then across the street north of 27th Street between Phillips and High is completely owned by Cameron. And so what we're talking about is the strip there between High and Phillips, 27th Street. We find this street to be very lowly utilized by the public. We did some video surveillance, and less than 10 cars per hour, which I think for any typical street is very low usage. And we think that's for two reasons. One is that there's good access to I-35 from 25th and 29th Street, and there's good access on 26th Street. In addition to that, we think the low usage is due to the problem we're presenting to you is a real safety concern. We see a significant safety near miss between our traffic, going in between our main building, which is south of 27th, to our raw yard, which is north of 27th, which we highly utilize. And you can see some of the pictures on the bottom. It naturally creates some blind spots, and either between a public vehicle and a forklift, or some of our truck traffic that comes off in a vehicle, we see a significant near miss, and we feel like we're just waiting for an actual safety event, a severe safety event to occur. You can see the high travel and utilization that we use. We operate until 2:30 in the morning, so it's very dark at that time, again, just creating and extending that risk. And so our solution, if you go to the next slide, would be to close public access between High and Phillips on 27th Street. Again, Cameron owns 100% on both the north and south sides. It's a low-traveled road. John was nice enough to come out to the site and review our plan. It has his support. Additionally, we feel like this completely addresses the safety concern. It would allow us to operate that as it is today. We don't feel like it's a large takeaway from the public, and honestly creates a benefit for them in terms of taking away that safety concern that exists. We didn't receive any objections from our neighbors, and we didn't receive any objections from traffic and safety. And one benefit we'd like, additional benefit for the surrounding community is, as a piece of this, we do have, as you can see, our shipping is on Phillips Street, and a lot of our truck traffic for receiving comes in off Phillips Street, so that those trucks can queue up there at high volume times, creating some logistical challenges for the neighbors there to the west. As a piece of this, if this is approved, we would have our truck traffic queue up on 27th Street, which would create, we believe, a benefit for the neighborhood. And then the last slide. So just taking a scanned out view of it, you can see here, we feel like this is going to have minimal impact to the neighborhood with the yellow piece where it's proposed closure. There's easy access to, the access to 35 comes from 25th and 29th, depending on you're going north or south. Within the neighborhood, there's easy access on 26th Street, which is just half a block up north, and so coming in or out of the neighborhood, that's an easy alternative route. And again, no safety concerns there or anything like that. And you can see Cameron owns 100% of the north and south.
Are there any questions?
Are there additional employees as a result of this project?
I'm sorry?
Or will you have any additional employees as a result of this project?
As a result of this process, we are currently outgrowing our current parking lots, and this would, in the future, create us a much more presentable plan to continue to add employees with this space available to us for parking and such.
Has the city done its own independent traffic count?
Not to my knowledge, no. Not to my knowledge, no. Now, what I did do on a couple of occasions, I did have an opportunity to tour this particular facility, and I actually arrived a little bit early to see what type of traffic, and the traffic was very, very low in my view. And I did have the opportunity to knock a few doors to get their view. They thought it was a great idea because many of their family members actually works for Cameron. But I see a great potential. This also, and I'm glad Pat brought up about the potential jobs. Cameron, if with the street being closed, I see a couple of things. Number one, currently I believe that it is a safety hazard for Cameron to take their forklifts across to their property going north, and especially if you're doing that during night hours, that presents some issues for me. And then also if you bringing in diesels, which they do, that also presents at nighttime some concerns. So I see nothing wrong with this street being closed. Again, when this item was first addressed to the Planning Commission, it was 4 and 4, then 4 and 4, and then 3 to 5, then 5 to 2 or something like that. But me personally, I've went out there and on several occasions just to see, and I think this presents a great opportunity for Cameron to expand. So I'm going to go against the Planning Commission. I don't like closing streets, but in this case, I do see the need, so I'm going to move for approval.
I'd like to second it, but with a comment. Cameron has been a really good corporate citizen of Southeast Oklahoma City for many, many, many years. They employ a lot of people. I too have looked at it because I used to represent that area, and that's a difficult neighborhood to your north, and I think you've done as good a job as you could possibly do in trying to work with that neighborhood, and I'm very much in support of it.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments.
Can I just ask a question, Kenny, about process? So once it's closed, then they could go to district court, and then that would just be, the land would just be given to Cameron, or how does that?
Yes, once the council closes it, they can go to district court to vacate what you've just closed.
And then the land that the street's on becomes Cameron's?
Then that, yes.
It's only the easement, the street easement that's
It's
there.
subject to the street easement
Right.
as long as it's,
Right.
but it goes back to the abutting landowners at that point, once it's vacated by district court.
Does it set up any kind of precedent if a company owns on both sides of a street?
We do it all the time.
No.
Well, as a budding owner on both sides of the street, it would go back to them on both sides of the street. In other words, as the abutting landowner, they own to the center of the street, but it's subject to the city's easement.
I mean, can other companies in other parts of the city request to close streets and use this as precedent in stating?
No, you determine it on a case-by-case basis. A closing council determines whether it should be closed on whether it's necessary or expedient to close it.
And here it's the safety, or would be the safety.
Correct.
And 28th Street was closed, obviously, a few years ago. There's already a precedent in the area. 28th.
And I'm assuming that they are then responsible for the maintenance of the streets. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, it's closed to public use, so once they vacate it, they essentially own it. So they would then be responsible for maintaining it if they keep using it as a street.
All right. Any other comments or questions on the issue? John, your motion is to approve?
Yes.
Is there a second? Pete seconded. Okay. Requires 7 votes to pass. Cast your votes. Passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Item 9D is an item that's to the council for the final time, and this is our abandoned buildings ordinance. We believe all interested parties are on board with where we are. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on this item today before we vote?
Mayor, we do have an amendment we'd like to make to it. It's just it's not a substantive amendment, it's an amendment of clarification, but when we met with the realtors, there were some questions on the charges, and so Cindy Richards is here this morning to explain that to us.
Okay.
We had some discussions with the Neighborhood Alliance, and they pointed out to us that there could be some confusion on the fee issue. Currently, the current amendment that's proposed says in 60-35-20, the fire hourly abatement cost is $73. The police hourly abatement cost is $65. And so we'd like to request a motion from the floor from council to add the words after the dollar amount on fire for it to say per responding firefighter, and on the police, after the dollar amount, for it to say per responding officer. So what we hope that does is clarify that if a number of firefighters have to show up to an abandoned building to deal with a fire or whatever may be occurring there, that it's clear that there's going to be a dollar amount per firefighter there. Same with the police officers.
And that was our intent when the ordinance was drafted.
Yes.
That's per person, not per vehicle.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. We have a motion, a second. We're voting on item 9D. Cast your votes. Voting on the amendment. Okay. Voting on the amendment. The amendment passes. Now we're voting on item 9D. Cast your votes, and it passes unanimously. Item E is the vehicles for hire issue. I'll ask Councilwoman Sawyer to come over and take care of this item on the agenda.
As Vice Mayor Salyer's coming over, we've seen this now multiple times, and we've had multiple votes on this, on the different provisions. And so last time we voted on it, we had to, because of the changes we made, we had to bring it back one more time. So this is reflective of all the votes that the council have taken on this item in the past.
So the reason it's here before us today is that last time emergency was requested and that did not pass. So this item is as it was presented before, and I would ask if anybody has any questions or comments before we vote. Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? Second? Everybody cast your votes? And the motion passes with one objection. And that motion passes. Moving on, the agenda. I don't have my agenda with me.
Here we go.
Thank you. Here we go. Alrighty. Are we here? Item 9F is an ordinance on final hearing, canceling the regular council meetings. This would be our summer schedule for next year. Those dates to be canceled would be June 30, July 14, July 28th, August 11th, August 25, September 8th, and September 22nd. Is there a motion to approve? Motion and a second. Cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Item 9G is a public hearing regarding ordinances related to our utilities and the general schedule of fees. This was introduced to us last week, or 2 weeks ago, by Marcia Slaughter. And so today is a public hearing on this subject. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'd
I have
ask.
a question,
Pat,
Your
please.
Honor. Will this include private utilities or just city utility?
This is only for water and wastewater utilities.
So just the city utilities only?
That's correct.
Any other questions or comments? Ask for a motion then to move this forward. Thank you. Cast your votes. and that passes unanimously. Item 9H is an ordinance to be introduced today and set for a public hearing on November 4th related to utilities and...
This has to do with the theft of utilities, utility services, and Deputy Chief Johnny Kuhlman is here to explain this to us this morning. This is the first time, this is for introduction, so the first time council has seen this.
Thank you, Chief.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. This ordinance before you today is a collaboration between the Police Department and the Utilities Department because we identified a need to establish an ordinance that addresses the unauthorized use of utilities that can be filed in municipal court. Currently, these are being filed as state misdemeanors in district court, and the creation of this ordinance just mirror images the state statute and allows us the ability to file these charges in municipal court.
Second. Any further discussion on that item? Let's move that forward. All in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will bring that forward for a public hearing in 2 weeks' time. There you go, Mayor.
All right, we are on item 9I, which is a public hearing regarding dilapidated structures. Is there anyone here hoping to speak under any item listed under 9I? All right, how about a motion? Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Item J is a public hearing regarding unsecured structures. Is there anyone here hoping to speak under any item listed under 9J? All right, cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9K is a public hearing today. This is a second public hearing, has to do with our fire station condition study. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on this item today? All right, how about a motion to move this forward? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9L is a public hearing. This has to do with our capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2015 to 2019. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on item 9L today? All right, how about a motion? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9M is a public hearing, and this has to do for an application with the Department of Commerce.
Steve Rhodes is here this morning to answer any questions you might have about this. This is, has to do with tornado recovery.
All right. Looks like council didn't have any questions, so we'll just move it forward. Okay, thanks anyway, Steve. Item passes unanimously. Item 9N, I understand we do not need executive session, so a motion to strike would be in order. Okay, cast your votes. Item is struck from the agenda. Item 9O, understand we do need executive session today.
Yes.
All right. Cast your votes to move item 9O to executive session. Item moves onward. And item 9P is claims recommended for denial. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on any item listed under 9P? All right, how about a motion? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. We're on to item 10. This is claims recommended for approval. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on any item listed under 10A? All right, how about a motion? Cast your votes. And it passes unanimously, which puts us on to items from council. James, you have anything? All right, Ed?
I do. We've had some interesting discussions in the Neighborhood Conservation Committee about Section 108 loans that it seems like at some point should come in front of the council since it really involves policy decisions. Section 108 loans are where a city leverages its CDBG funds, which in our case we get about $4.3 million from the federal government, which we use for housing repair. We repair about 90 houses a year. Strong Neighborhoods Initiative, where we put money into select neighborhoods to try and revitalize them. And when we have money, affordable housing. But Section 108 is where you leverage that and you put up that $4.3 million as collateral to then get a loan. And that's what the Alliance for Economic Development used to put the 21C hotel together. When we approved the 21C loan, we basically leveraged our $4.3 million in CDBG funds. 2 weeks ago, when we had the Convention Center Hotel, that it kind of flashed up there that Section 108 was an option. We really didn't have a conversation about it. That seems like a policy decision for the council. Whether we want to leverage our CDBG funds in that way. And then I think what's come out in our meetings that I didn't really understand is the different ways that cities can do that, and that there's very different amounts of risk that cities can take and how those deals are structured. And so maybe at just some point an explanation of that, what the options are. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and there are different levels of risk.
We'd be happy to do a city manager report sometime on one.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Larry?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to thank the Windsor Hills Neighborhood Association for the hospitality showed my wife and I this past Saturday when they had their meeting. And then during the meeting, on side conversations, a number of the neighbors were very appreciative of the work, Jim, on the MAPS 3 sidewalk from Northwest 36th down to Northwest 23rd. And in fact, prior to that, earlier in the week, I even received a text from a citizen who was complimenting the construction company on the expedience that was being used in constructing that sidewalk. And the people were really looking forward to its completion. And so your sidewalk initiative, Mayor, is really paying off. Thank you, Your Honor.
Looking good out there. Pete? All right. David? Meg?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess just briefly, I'd like to follow up on the recognition that you, or the recognition for Art and Humanities Month. And there was a brief mention of a art opening last night. There's a Oklahoma Contemporary is going to locate a new art facility up at 11th and Broadway on Campbell Park. And last night an exhibit was opened that's called Terra. It was created by a New York City artist whose name is Orly Ganger, and it's a very interesting piece. It will be in Oklahoma City for a year. This artist uses reclaimed lobster rope, and I think there are over 1 million feet of it wrapped around trees in various depths and heights on Campbell Park. Kids can climb on it and sit on it. It's a very interactive piece, and I think it really is going to draw a lot of attention. So I just encourage everyone to go up and visit Campbell Park, take a look around, and enjoy what will become, I think, a very vibrant new facility in downtown Oklahoma City.
Fun. All right. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to wish Debbie Martin a happy birthday. Tomorrow is her birthday, so happy birthday, Debbie.
All right. And Pat? All right. City manager reports. We've already had item 12A on Ebola. And item 2 is from Mike Carrier.
Well, I don't know if where Mike is, but let's go with Jason Fairbrush to talk a little bit about the parking garage. We've all seen it. It's nearing completion and really looking, I think very good.
Remind me how many spaces are in that garage?
Jason?
802. Yeah, and it's replacing a surface lot that had 50 or so.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a great addition to
Your Honor,
downtown's parking capacity. Yeah.
since Jason is about to make his presentation and Michael's here too, I would like to, and they can explain a little bit further, but a week ago yesterday, they had the American Public Transportation annual meeting, and Embark received 5 first place awards in the ad wheel category and won overall grand prize as far as their efforts to reach out to the community. And maybe Jason could just say a word or two about that.
Sure. Yeah, we did very well at the Ad Wheel Awards, and that's essentially peer recognition. Our other transit agencies weigh in on the marketing materials and promotional efforts
that we put together to promote our service. And so it's very humbling to be recognized by your peers in that way. We appreciate Councilman Greenwell accepting the award on behalf of Embark, and thank you to Michael and his team. They really took the lion's share of that work and put it together. So.
And one final comment, I'm sorry to drag this out. It would do everyone well to attend one of those meetings just to see what's on the horizon as far as development in public transportation, both from a traditional bus system to rail cars to high-speed rail. It's certainly, the future is here, and it's pretty interesting. It'll be a lot of fun to see the developments in public transportation.
Absolutely. All right, well, good morning, and I appreciate the opportunity this morning to talk a little bit about the status of the COTPA multi-use parking garage being constructed across the street from City Hall at 431 West Main. Of course, we all know it pretty much as the Arts District Parking Garage, and that is the official name that will be presented to the COTPA Board of Trustees at their meeting in November. Pleased to report that the construction is nearing completion, and we fully anticipate being able to start parking cars in that garage by the end of October. As you'll recall, the garage itself is a $24.5 million project. $21.5 million of the construction costs are financed through 2013 COTPA revenue bonds. Roughly $3 million of the project costs were cash funded through capital reserves of the parking system. Also pleased to report that S&P affirmed our bond rating as AA just as recently as September. And as you may recall, when the bonds were originally issued, we received AA ratings from both S&P and Moody's, which are certainly high ratings. Just to kind of give you a little sense of when the construction started, it began in May of 2013, so we're looking at about a year and a half for the project to be completed. The facility itself is 295,830 square feet. It's a 10-story structure and will accommodate 802 parking spaces. The facility, of course, is fully ADA compliant. We actually have 18 handicap parking places in the garage, and 4 of those spaces are the extra large spaces designated for vans. So with that, you may recall the structure is a poured-in-place structure versus a precast and then assembled on site. We think in the long run, in terms of longevity and ease of maintenance, the poured-in-place facility will certainly be advantageous to us there. And then also, the structure was designed so that it can be expanded, so additional floors can be added to the facility should the need arise to expand it. Wanted to spend just a few minutes giving you an idea of what we expect the COTPA parking system occupancy to look like after the garage is opened. We all understand that there's a significant demand for parking downtown. Our current system is roughly at 115% occupancy with the 4 garages that are currently under operation. You can see that in the chart that's in front of you, represented by the light purple bar on your graph. Once the new garage opens, we do not expect occupancy to decline significantly at all. In fact, we're projecting, even with another 802 spaces in the system, to be at about 110% on occupancy. And the reason for that is with this garage, we've really garnered a lot of interest from people that haven't used our system before. So we are fully expecting the garage to essentially be full once it opens, and most of those parkers will be new to our system. So the market is absorbing most of those additional spaces almost immediately. As far as retail space goes, I did mention that the garage was a multi-use facility, and there's roughly 18,500 square feet of available retail and office space on the first floor. I'm sure if you've been by the garage, you'll notice the first floor is certainly designed to accommodate pedestrians. There's glass frontage on both the Colcord side and the Main Street side. And, you know, similar to the parking space situation, we also are in discussions with various organizations and businesses in that we have interest for most of even the retail space. We have about 2,000 square feet that we would say is not yet spoken for. A lot of discussions going on for about 14,500 square feet of the space. And then, as you had heard, the clinic will probably likely be our first tenant, absorbing about 2,000 square feet of that retail space. So again, it's you know, it's good that we can open the garage, and we have the prospects not only for the parkers but the retail as well. Wanted to just share this slide with you, and it's a beautiful picture of the garage at night. If you haven't been able to see the garage lit up after dark, I would certainly encourage you next time you're downtown in the evening hours to make a stop by to where you can view it. But I think it's just a wonderful picture. The garage, I think we would all agree, certainly is it basically certainly is set apart from the other garages that we have in our system. And you know, learning about kind of the original design concept, you know, part of the goal I think was to build a garage that was kind of set apart, made an impact, was attractive and added to the downtown environment, but then also blended with the Civic Center, City Hall, the museum, and I think, at least in my opinion, this building certainly does do that. A couple of other amenities that I would share with you about the garage that are a little bit different than our other garages. One is the colored glass. Obviously is decorative in nature, does set the garage off, but it's also purposeful in that it's a reminder for the parkers on what floor they parked on, much like our other garages where a lot of our floors are color-coded. The glass here is kind of color-coded as well, so a person can easily reference, okay, did I park on the green floor, the blue floor, orange floor, and so forth. The glass mesh, the glass and the mesh, you've noticed, you kind of get a different view, or the garage actually kind of has a different appearance depending whether you're looking at it straight on or maybe if you're looking at it at an angle from, say, the corner of Sheridan and Walker, and so we certainly think that is an amenity that we don't see in some of our other garages. The garage will have an emergency generator, so should we have a power failure, which we do from time to time, the garage will maintain its functionality. The other thing I would mention is that it will be COTPA's first fully automated garage, and that we don't plan on having a full-time attendant in the booth. Now, when we open the garage, we will certainly have staff on site to make sure we have an easy transition, but the long-term goal is to have the garage be fully automated. Now, we will have security on site, we will have maintenance on site during regular hours, but we just do not plan to have somebody at the booth. The other thing that I wanted to mention about the garage is, you'll notice the lighting. The garage has LED lighting, which obviously increases the brightness, but then also the underside of the decks, or what we might think of as the ceiling if we're parking in the garage, they've all been painted white, which adds to the reflectivity and brightens the environment, and we think just creates a much more pedestrian, a much friendlier, safer type environment than what someone might be accustomed to with a parking garage. So we're very pleased with how well lit and bright the garage is. And then finally, as far as amenities go, one of the things we're looking forward to is the public art display. It will not be complete in time for the grand opening, but we do fully anticipate over the coming months to have public art installed in that pedestrian corridor between Main and Colcord. And so certainly looking forward to how that will turn out and what that will add to the garage as well. And so with that, again, the idea was just to provide you with a quick status of the garage, let you know that we are soon to be open for business, and wanted to make sure each one of you were invited to our grand opening on November 4th at 4 p.m. With that, I'll take any questions.
One thing Jason didn't point out is the pedestrian feel. If you've been by it, the sidewalks are now open again, and the landscaping was just going in yesterday. I know they're putting the plants in, but I think the finish on the side of the pedestrian area and such will is really attractive and should be long-term durable.
Just a quick question, Your Honor. You mentioned security, Jason.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
That's a problem in parking garages all over the world. But will there be 24-hour security?
We have 24-hour security, but they do rotate garages. So I guess there will essentially be somebody on call 24/7. There may not be someone in the garage at all hours.
Jason, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Back to what David was talking. Do you have a target date about evening transit lines on 23rd? And sorry to be tangential, but since you're here, I just want to ask.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to talk about it.
On North 23rd and South 29th, do we have a target date for starting those lines?
Yes, our target is January. I should say first part of next year. We're looking at January, could potentially be as late as February, but we'd like to try to get a full half of a fiscal year in. We do, we'll be launching the service in kind of a time when generally our ridership is a little bit lower, namely because it gets darker a lot earlier. Weather always, it's cold during the winter, impacts the ridership a little bit. But at the same time, we feel like we launch it in January, kind of gives us a chance to develop that service, build it up. It's something new that we've never provided before, and then really promote it, encourage it, and see what we can do in spring when the ridership really picks up. So, I mean, yeah, we're looking forward to kicking it off in January.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, normally you don't think of a parking garage as being an attractive building, but I think they've really outdone themselves. This has generated as much social media attention as any municipal building that I can think of, and I think it holds the other buildings to a higher standard when they look at how they want to be constructed and how they fit into a particular area. So I think COPTA has done just a tremendous job in this respect, and perhaps even being able to take some of these ideas that were implemented in this construction and using them in other garages just to increase usage in some of the ones that are not as well used. So it's a tremendous building. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I really would like to just compliment your entire staff at Flintco. Did a fantastic job getting it up so quickly. I mean, just watching it go up has been an amazing exercise, and now being able to see it at night, when you look at the campus and just see that glow from the parking garage, it really is impressive. Question about the retail space on the ground floor. Is the 14,500 feet roughly one user, or is it multiple users?
Multiple users.
Great.
Right.
Good.
Yep.
All right. Thank you,
Okay.
Jason.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Next up is Mike Carrier with CVB.
Good morning. I apologize for being a moment late. You all moved through E and F a lot faster than I thought you would as I was getting ready to walk down here. But it's a pleasure to be here. And I want to commend Embark for the new parking garage. Having been in the hotel and the convention center business, I have learned a lot more about parking than I ever thought I would know, and have operated a couple of garages. And I can tell you that looking at some of the things that they have done with this new Arts District garage is a real game changer, and we appreciate that. The security comments that Jason made about the ceiling being painted and the much lighter and brighter attitude in there, I think will serve us all very, very well as we continually look for visitors and convention delegates and other folks for places to park downtown also. I'm here to talk to you today about two or three things. First of all, the year just finished in July, and I know that's a while back, but with a variety of schedules, it's been challenging to get here to see you. And so we had a good year last year. As we have talked about before, we had a study commissioned back in, I think it was 2011, that looked at what's the fair share of room nights that we should be able to book based on the available facilities that we have in Oklahoma City right now. And that was about 358 or 359,000 room nights annually. This past year, we booked a little over 364,000. And so we're a little bit ahead of where the facilities we have right now would lead you to believe that we should be. Obviously, having a few more hotels opening have helped, particularly in the general tourism, leisure markets. But business has been good. Our occupancy percentages, as you all can see from the hotel sales tax collections, have been good, and so we continue in Oklahoma City to do well and to perform at a pace that is, in many cases, envy of a lot of other communities around the country. Some specific results: 179 groups representing 191,000 room nights of convention and sports business. Some of the groups that we hosted, obviously there's a lot of repeat business that we do year in and year out, and we appreciate the fact that those folks like Oklahoma City and want to come back. The Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education's annual summer conference, the Oklahoma Indian Gaming Association. Next summer, when that show is here, I would encourage you to go to the convention center and take a look. They use literally every square inch of the exhibit hall that they can cram things into, and it's pretty remarkable to see what they do. And they are excited, I will tell you, about the new convention center and the opportunities it provides them for expansion of their show. But some new shows last year and new opportunities: the National Lieutenant Governors Association's annual meeting, American Chamber of Commerce Executives annual convention met here for the first time ever. International Association of Chiefs of Police had a training academy here. The National Association of Barber Boards, Frontiers in Education, the National American Indian Housing Council, the Legislative Action Summit, National Association of Sports Commissions, Teach for America, and then numerous others, as I said, that are repeat business or business that comes here on a rotating basis. We also produced about 368,000 lead room nights. Those are people that are looking at Oklahoma City, and at the point in time that we deal with them on that regard, have not made the decision of coming to Oklahoma City or going to another city. We're often competing. 210 of those groups were national or regional groups. So we truly are expanding our reach, and we're able to bring a significant number of groups in here to work in Oklahoma City. In servicing, we serviced over 250 groups last year. That's where our team helps them with a variety of things that they might need, be it transportation around the city, where they would rent buses to shuttle them to Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum or to other parts of the city for special events. It involves providing registrars to help them with information welcome desks or to actually register their delegates as they come in the doors. So about 250 groups that we worked with in that regard. We hosted 39 site inspections. Those are folks that are looking at Oklahoma City for future years, or in some cases have already decided to meet here and need assistance in planning their meeting and want to come in and look for things, again, like Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, to hold an off-site function from the convention center, or to find unique places to hold their meeting even though they're in hotels on Memorial or out in the northwest or northeast or somewhere else in the city. So a number of different opportunities there. A couple of major events that were held, obviously the Division I Wrestling Championships. We enjoy a great partnership with All Sports Association, and it really pays dividends for Oklahoma City. That was a tremendous event, very well received. As their participants and fans left, they all wanted to know, when are we coming back? They love Oklahoma City. NCAA's process looks like it will be 2019 before we can potentially have them back. We are set to bid on it as quickly as we can when they open the bids, and certainly want them back as soon as possible. In the tourism market, the group tours and leisure tourism, We attended 26 shows last year that are either consumer shows or group shows. These are the motor coaches you see driving around town. Obviously, Red Carpet and Village Tours and some others that are local, but there are companies all over the country that put preformed groups together, bring them on a tour of some part of the United States, and Oklahoma City continues to be at a higher presence of mind for those folks. We offer things that they literally can't see anywhere else, and certainly activities such as some of the shows at the Museum of Art or the Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, things that we're doing in other parts of the city, pay dividends for us there. So 26 shows either in the group tour or the leisure tour market. These are folks in Wichita or Kansas City or Dallas, Fort Worth or McAllen or other parts of the region that are looking for a nice place to go over a weekend for a family getaway. And we're seeing a significant number of those folks coming to Oklahoma City. The activities, we were down at the river yesterday for the groundbreaking, and the activities at the river, my family was down there this past weekend. My son and daughter-in-law from Wilmington, North Carolina were here. They wanted to go do the zip line. They wanted to go do the Sky Trail. They had been to the Outer Banks a few weeks ago and done a Sky Trail type adventure there with a ropes course, and they wanted to come do this one. So it's things like that we see from leisure tourists all the time that continue to increase the visitation to Oklahoma City and to increase our economic benefit to the community. On the equine side of the house, again, 20 major shows last year. The biggest challenge that we have at the fairgrounds right now with the horse show industry is trying to figure out how to get 5 or 6 more weekends in every year. We've got folks that would like to come here. The challenge is that if we bring another horse show here, we have to move someone else, or we have to tell them they can't come, or we have to let somebody steal them, and we're not going to do that if there's any way we can prevent it. So it's a nice problem to have. We continue to talk with additional groups that would like to potentially come to Oklahoma City. The fairgrounds does a great job of working with their existing clients to see if adjusting some show dates are possible. If it is, then we can bring in some new shows. If it's not, we obviously stay in touch with those other shows, and when an opportunity presents itself, we'll go back to them. But some great opportunities out there, and people that love Oklahoma City and continue coming back. Our marketing and communications, we have done a great deal of work over the last couple of years with our social media and internet presence. And at the end of the year, June of 2014 versus June of 2013, our internet presence, our social media, everything combined was a 67% increase in visits to our social media and websites compared to what we had the previous year. And we are continuing to see double-digit increases as we move into this year. We are getting ready to do a responsive design on our website. What that means is that whether it's our desktop website, an iPad, a smartphone, it will be the same website. It will automatically adjust to fit the device. That makes it much easier to keep everything up to date, to make sure that we are passing the most current information on to our clients. We've also done a lot of work in the communications side of the house, promoting Oklahoma City and getting people to write stories about either specific things happening here or tourism in general, the quality of life activities that we do every day that tourists find interesting and appealing to make them want to come. One of the writers that we had worked with beginning about 14 months ago, their story just came out, and if you happen to fly American Airlines this month, we are the feature city in American Airlines in-flight magazine. If you happen to fly United Airlines this month, we are the feature city in United Airlines. So we have 2 of the major air carriers that are both featuring Oklahoma City this month. And in December, if you happen to fly, we will be the feature city in Southwest Airlines in-flight magazine. So we're getting some really great press, and very pleased to be a part of not only helping make that happen, but hosting the writers as they come here and giving them the opportunity to see a variety of things that we do. So it was a good year. We continue to see nice things happening. With it being toward the end of October, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the first quarter of this new fiscal year. We continue to see some excellent progress. We are up, year to date, we are up 80% in leads generated and lead room nights over where we were last year. So, some good opportunities. We are attending a number of different shows this year, shows that we have seen before, but new places that we can go. And now having, the new fairgrounds expo hall that we can talk about that is becoming a reality. And we'll be working with a couple of specific industries there, the consumer show industry and also the trade show industry. We'll be in Dallas the first part of December for an international trade show exposition. It's a show about shows. And so we'll be down there. There are about 13,000 to 14,000 trade shows held every year. And some of those shows are things that we could potentially recruit to come to Oklahoma City. So we're working with the fairgrounds on those types of things. Also the consumer show market. We have the Affair of the Heart coming up. And that's a great show, but it's an example of a high-quality consumer show. And there are a number of national consumer show marketers and producers that would like to come in here, and we'd certainly like to help bring in here to continue to fill that building and other spaces. So a lot of new opportunities, good things happening. We're seeing nice numbers in the fall horse show series. We just completed the Morgan show, an excellent show again this year. Their numbers were good and solid. We start the Team Ropers show this week. A lot of cowboys, and they'll be out there roping they've got about $6.5–7 million in prize money, so they're out there working hard to win their share of that. And then right after that, the Quarter Horse World Show. I believe this is the 40th year in succession that they've been here. And then the Reining Horse Show right after that one. So a number of good shows, and those shows are also expecting nice crowds this year and potentially even some increases. Their numbers, and particularly their breeding numbers, have increased over the last couple of years. One thing I want to just quickly talk to you about, as most of you know, we have changed the logo for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and that looks awfully familiar, didn't it?
I'm wearing a pen today with the
I
new
thought you
logo.
were. Thank you. We want to first thank the city for helping us with this and allowing us the opportunity to use the Skydance Bridge as a primary focus of our new logo. It was interesting as we talked about the logo that we had, which had the river and the state capitol and some other items in it, and we talked about what sets Oklahoma City apart. We have an affinity, all of us. We have a strong affinity for the river, and it's great. But there are a lot of cities that have rivers. What sets ours apart? Well, we know, and we need to tell people about that, but it's not something you can necessarily define in a small logo. 49 other states have a Capitol building with a dome, and how do you tell that story without talking about it? A little picture is not going to do the job. But as we started thinking about what's something unique and what's something that is going to get people to ask questions more so than other things would, somebody suggested the Skydance Bridge. And so we played with that a little bit, we worked with it, and something as a clean image, as a very up-to-date image, as a very unusual image, something that we could play off of in a lot of other ways. The Skydance Bridge certainly has proven to be a very successful decision that we have made. I thought it was very interesting. The first group of folks we showed this to, Mary Malone was in the audience, and after the meeting was over and we had shown this image, she came up and she said, "It reminds me of St. Louis." Thanks, Mary. We did a lot of work on this. No. It reminds me of St. Louis. They have the arch and nobody else can use it. We have the Skydance Bridge and nobody else can use it. It's ours, and thousands of people see it every day as they drive through Oklahoma City on Interstate 40, whether they're stopping here or not. It's ours. That's exactly what we wanted. And so we have been able to turn this into something we think has long legs and something that can represent us well. We can use it in a variety of different ways, as you can see before you, whether it just identifies the Bureau or Oklahoma City in general. We can use it with different word pairs, whether it is Visit OKC or OKC Tourism or Sports OKC or Meet OKC. The web address for our website, visitokc.com. Our hashtag or our theme line is OK Seeing is Believing. Part of the reason for this is as we talk to meeting planners and other folks, they don't mind hearing from us. They like hearing from us and from other people that want to brag about Oklahoma City. They want to hear from people that have been here and their peers and their colleagues in the tourism industry, the meetings industry, the events industry. So, you know, if we could get them all to come here and we could show them, we make believers out of them. The next best thing is to let their colleagues tell them about it. So, OK Seeing is Believing. Well, we can use that in a variety of ways in advertising and promotion. Our Twitter handle is hashtag SEEOKC. You know, so there's a lot of different opportunities with this, and we're rolling this out in a variety of places now as we continue to move forward in this fiscal year. You can see a couple more examples of the types of ads that we could do, that a catchy tagline with some great images. And the nice thing about this is we can put these images on, or this tagline and logo on any image, and it really tells, it helps draw the attention and tell the story of all that Oklahoma City has to offer. So we're excited about it. We'll show you some more things as we move through. We've got a video program that we are getting ready to send a direct mail piece to a number of potential clients that we would love to have in here. As soon as it's ready, I'll bring it into council and let you all see it, because it's something very new in the industry and something we think is going to be eye-catching and get that COKC and OK Seeing is Believing out to a lot of folks. So we're looking forward to a very good year. You know, obviously, there are things that we can always do better, and we continually strive to do that. Street work is progressing nicely, and we're having fewer and fewer, thank you, Mr. Couch, and staff, you know, fewer and fewer streets closed. The biggest challenge we have, and it was, again, listening to Jason a minute ago, the biggest complaint we get and the biggest challenge we have is the same thing that the people who work downtown talk about, and that's parking. We know it's being worked on. We know it's being addressed, and you can see it in a lot of different ways. So as those things continue to be finished and work moves to other areas, we know that that better things are coming even as it gets better and better every day. So appreciate your all's continued support. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Any questions for Mike? Yeah, Pat?
Mike, on your motor coach group tours?
Yes, sir.
Are they still going to the outlet mall?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's shopping continues to be one of the high points of motor coach tours, and the outlet mall has been a great partner. We said it at the very beginning that the folks with Horizon Group understand the tourism industry, and they have proven to be an excellent partner with us at motor coach show places, at leisure tour shows, and locally. So yeah, that's been a real home run for us.
Yes, Mike, just a couple of comments.
Yes,
I had a visitor in from out of town this week, and I used visitokc.com to put together, you know, some downtown walking tours and things. It's extremely easy to use, very well done and helpful. Lots of great statistics in this annual report, but I particularly like the city's overall return on our investment for CVB dollars, and, you know, budget, looking at what we spend on CVB versus the direct spending that we get, and it's, you know, 96-1 this last year, which is an impressive number.
It's a good return. That's another one of those that we always hope we can do better. We're proud of that, you know, and there's a lot of people that play into that. You know, we're very fortunate to have the opportunity to tell people about what goes on in Oklahoma City, but there are a lot of people around the community that really make that happen, and so we're proud to have some great partnerships here and to work with a lot of folks to make that a reality.
All right. Any other comments or questions for Mike? Mike, thanks for your great work. Please pass along our compliments to your staff.
Certainly. Thank you, sir.
All right.
We have the October sales tax collections check, or report in the packet. Do want to point out that the check was slightly under target, 0.4% under target, 2.5% over last year, which kind of tracks with what we've been doing now for the first 4 months. We're 0.8% below target and 2.8 above last year. We projected about 3.5 for the first part of the year. Although that isn't our growth rate for the entire year, we thought the first part of the year would be stronger growth than we might see in the second half of the year. Last month, the mayor said, I'm not sure if this is good or bad or what these trends are telling me, and we are right on track with what we saw last month, so we still don't have any trends that can tell you anything. However, this sales tax check that we received this month is the largest sales tax check we have ever received. So, and there are the hotel, motel reports in there too. I'd be happy to answer any questions about that.
Yeah, when I looked at the use tax, and the hotel and restaurants is up 295% this month. Does that include construction costs of new hotels, or is that just investments by existing hotels?
Don't know the answer to that. I can find out for you, though.
I was just wondering why that number was so extraordinarily high. All right, that's it for city manager reports. And now we have citizens to be heard. Joe Sarge Nelson.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I was going to give you a little dossier here, but I'm not going to. I commented about the gentleman that was just up here and so on and stuff. We've got some good things going on in Oklahoma City. But I'm still going to be the gray rider. I'm going to dot my I's and cross my T's and make sure things get done the way they're supposed to get done. I ain't got anything else left to do. And I got an 11-page report that they're getting ready to send to each one of you. But to get along, am I allowed to approach, considering I've supplied some documents to this city hall? I'll give them to Mr. Kenneth Jordan, if that don't mind. Is that all right, sir? As you all know, I've been on the attack a little bit, and I don't intend to back off too much. My biggest problem is, as Mr. Jordan is reading this comment here, I made the internet, and I don't like to be threatened that I'm going to be shot down. And I mean literally. I've already been there and done that once. But I took these right here so that the mayor and the city manager and Mr. Kenneth Jordan, being city councilor, can see that the threat is very real. I've had my business burned, which you already know about. Evidence destroyed, and I've asked Mr. Couch a couple of times about some pictures I took about the pillars. The last time I was here, he kind of had a shrug and had a little smile, just shook his head like so. They are very much illegal. So for the record, Chapter 32, Section 561 and 562 of the city charter, visual obstructions. We are in violation of those pillars out there. I'm going to officially ask, since I'm not allowed to ask questions, I'm making a request. At the next council meeting, would you be so kind to make a report to the council and to myself about the violation of those structures? Because people can't see around them. And you can ask the gentleman to your right, they are illegal. And once you pull it up and go out and look at it, they do violate ODOT, and they also are violating the American Disabilities Act. And somebody's going to get killed there sooner or later. I know you've got several wrecks over, especially on Penn and I-40, because I've seen 3 or 4 of them. But the color photographs that I gave you are accurate. And I'd appreciate you looking into it as the city manager. And as far as the documents I give you, I know that they're kind of falling on deaf ears right now, but I didn't expect anything less. But if you'll read those 3 items, you'll find that paragraph 7, keep City Hall right in pace. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a nice day. Hope you have a nice lunch. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We have executive session. We'll be back.